Welcome. Today, I am absolutely delighted that Sara Ryan is joining us as our very special guest. Sara is a style coach and a multi-award winning businesswoman whose mission is to inspire women to reclaim their identity and elevate their presence. And one very important area of her expertise is a topic that's near and dear to my heart and absolutely vital for a beautiful makeup application. And that's knowing and wearing the makeup colors that will make our skin come alive. Sara also has several online courses as well as a YouTube channel, which is actually how I found her. And I immediately loved her style and her approach. So I wanted you to have a chance to meet her as well and learn more about her work. In the description box below, you'll find a link to Sara's YouTube channel, as well as links to her other social media sites. Well, Sara, welcome. I am so delighted you could join us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Elise. I'm absolutely delighted you got in touch. I think there's a real crossover in what your audience will be interested in and what I do. So I think it's going to be an interesting conversation.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I am just very curious about your background and how you got started in this work, especially in pursuing a career as a style coach. How did you first become interested in that?
Well, Elise, I was lost, is the honest answer. I think like many women at different stages in their life, we go through certain changes, whatever that might be, a change in career or a change in a relationship or, menopause or children growing up or things like that, that just leave us questioning, oh, who am I? What am I doing with my life? And that's really what brought me initially to coaching, to help me figure out what I was doing with my life. I realized that was a powerful, powerful tool for well-being. And I paired that then with my other passion, which is for style, really, because I see style as well-being. I think it's something that we can use for ourselves to make ourselves feel good. And I think this day and age, we need all the tools that we can get to help us feel great about ourselves. So it was this combination of coaching and styling that brought me to the style coach.
And I have to ask you about this because I just found out that you have traveled to over 80 different countries. Is that personal travel and how does that mix in with what you're doing now?
So it was a previous career. I was a flight attendant, cabin crew.
Ah,
So that took me all over the world. But even before that, I have a passion for traveling, and I've lived in, I think, 5 different countries, I think, as well. I've worn a lot of makeup. And, thankfully, it was a lovely shade of a red lipstick that I had to wear, which worked for me very well. I work with people all over the world, and my experience in traveling the world has given me a unique insight into lots of different cultures around the world, how people perceive style and beauty, and how different body shapes are celebrated around the world as well. And it just gave me an appreciation for how unique we all are.
style coach is a really broad term, and I know you cover a lot of different things in your work as a style coach. What is the portfolio of options that you offer to women as a style coach?
So I think most people find me through my color analysis. They seem to be a really popular video on YouTube. But I don't think people realize that what I do is a very holistic approach. I look at the individual, their lifestyle as well, their mindset, how they see themselves in their lives, what they're looking to achieve. So it's a very kind of open conversation to start with in terms of helping an individual understand themselves, maybe. And that's the identity part. When people come to me, it's often about color. It opens a conversation, but there's a deeper conversation that usually comes up around, I just don't know who I am anymore. And that's where my coaching can help as well, to help you figure out, okay, well, who are you? Beyond the responsibilities or the roles that we have in our life, we are still individuals. So helping people understand that, helping them understand their style personality, how do they want to express themselves through what they wear? body shape as well, how fabrics sit on the body. I don't know if you know this, Elise, but I started making my own clothes last year. This is giving me a really deep understanding of how clothes work on the body as well. So that's something I love to do. Color, of course, as well. And then, if people decide then they want to do some shopping as well or clear out a wardrobe, there's a whole host of things that we can do. But I tailor my work to each individual. And that's when I say to people, book a complimentary 20-minute clarity call. Let's talk and see where that takes us and what might be appropriate for you. So there's one-to-one consultations, there's online courses, as you mentioned before. There's a whole range of things and ways that we can work together.
I love your videos on your sewing. I've just been talking to my husband about where can we set that up. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
I'm delighted to hear that. Yeah, definitely dust it off, plug it in, get going.
Of course, as you mentioned, that color analysis is a big part of what you do. And it's obviously also very important since I help women with mature skin with makeup tips and techniques and various products that can help us look our best at this stage of our lives. And I know you do online consultations as I do, and choosing the best makeup colors for the undertone of our skin can make such a huge difference in how we look. And choosing clothes and colors that look beautiful on us also can make a big difference as well. So let's go ahead and dive into some questions directly related to color. Things have changed a lot in the world of color analysis over the last few decades. I'm curious, first of all, is it true that all of us can wear any color, but what matters is how saturated the color is? Am I off base on that, or is that true?
I would say there's certainly truth in that. Quality that allows us to wear color is the saturation of it. So in other words, we're talking about how strong or vibrant a color is versus how subtle and soft it is. But that's one element of a color. There's other things to think about as well. People often talk about the temperature of a color or the undertone of the skin. So leaning into those cooler blue tones for some people and leaning into the warmer yellow or orange based tones on the other side. So that's something to understand as well. The third quality that I look into as well is how light and dark a color is. Some of us tend to do really well in light colors. Some prefer those darker colors. So it's finding the balance of these three qualities. And that's the sweet spot that once you understand that, well, the world of color opens up. So I would say, to answer your question, Elise, I think anybody can wear any color they want, but it's finding the right saturation, the right value in terms of light and dark, and the right temperature.
That's so interesting because many of us who are older are familiar with Carol Jackson's book, Color Me Beautiful from the 1980s. And her color analysis system, for those of you who aren't aware of it, it divided people into 4 seasonal groups based on the undertone of their skin. And then each group was advised to wear a certain palette of colors. So there were winters and summers, and those were people who had a blue undertone to their skin. And then there were springs and autumns who had more of a yellow undertone to their skin. But as you mentioned, color analysis has definitely evolved and has become far more sophisticated. Many of us know what seasons we were. I'm sure that'll bring back memories for many of us carrying around swatches of colors, as we used to do. I know you're a winter. I'm a winter. So my question is, can those of us who are a particular season that we're aware of, can we wear colors from another season and still look our best? What's the secret to doing this if we can?
Yeah, and I believe that we can, once we understand our colors, I think we can borrow colors from other palettes. I'm a winter, and a dominant characteristic for me is getting those blue undertones. So coolness is really important for me. When I talk about seasons and sub-seasons, I'm talking about 12 different groups. And not to kind of go too heavy on the theory here, but when we identify a dominant characteristic like coolness, that connects us to 2 main palettes, cool winter and cool summer. So I'm going to look best in those cool winter colors because not only do I enjoy wearing those cool colors, but cool and leaning towards deeper, slightly brighter colors. That's the sweet spot for me. However, no color palette is an island, I like to say. There's a bridge into all the other palettes. The bridge that connects into cool summer are those cooler colors. So you're going to see an overlap. So it's about understanding that you can borrow the cool colors from cool summer, but they've got to be on the deeper side and the strongest of those palettes. So not everything there is going to look amazing, but you can certainly borrow a few once you understand what you're looking for.
Well, I love the particular videos you do where you work with an individual and find out what their best colors are. Those are fascinating videos to watch. And you also did a video called What Happens When Your Personality Conflicts with Your Color Palette. We're curious, can you give us an example of this and what we can do when this does happen?
Absolutely, yes. So let's say a person is a quieter person, more introverted, and they end up being a bright spring, perhaps, right? So the highly saturated, strong, vibrant colors are what looks best on them. Now, if they are more shy and retiring and maybe a wallflower and they don't want those very bright colors, there's a conflict there. So what I say to people is there's even with you in your own palette, there's a range. So the brightness level, even in bright spring, there will be a range of really bright and not fully bright. So you can always think about, well, I'm going to stick to the lower range of that bright spring palette. And that's where I feel more comfortable. The other thing you can do is use your colors in small doses. You don't have to be head to toe, in full bright colors. It can be a flash of color in your makeup, in a lipstick, perhaps. It might be some kind of tone in an earring or necklace or something, a nail polish, perhaps. So you don't have to go fully bright in everything you wear, but give a nod to it in some part of your outfit, preferably closest to your face, because that's where the interaction is happening. And that's where we look when we talk to people. We can use our palettes cleverly as well. We don't have to go full head to toe, bright colors standing out. There's no need to do that. We can use smaller doses and the lower end of the brightness spectrum.
The other thing I've always been curious about is what role do eye color and hair color play in color analysis?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, these things can change. Obviously, our hair color is something that does change. For a small population, eye color can also change. And maybe your viewers can put into the comments whether they've experienced this before as they went through life. They've seen changes in their eye color. So they do play a part in identifying your colors. What I tend to do is I identify the undertone of the skin first of all, because this is more consistent throughout life. If you're on the cool side, you're going to stay cool for your life. And if you're on the warm side, you're going to stay warm. However, the amount of coolness or warmness may change, or warmth, I should say. And that can be because you lose the warmth in your hair when you go gray, perhaps. So gray coming through, it's a cooler color. That can cause great confusion for people. And it may be the case that you need to review if you've had, your colors done, 20 or 30 years ago, and you feel like that group of colors no longer work for you because you've seen changes in your hair, perhaps even the eyes, then it might be that there's a shift in your colors or your dominant characteristic has changed. Your hair and your eyes do play a part. Certainly, there's a level of brightness in her hair, maybe a level of depth in her hair, same with her eyes, that all need to be taken into consideration. So they do play a part, but they may be something that needs a review if you feel like they've changed in a drastic way.
I know so many of the women that I've worked with over the years and who comment on my YouTube channel, when they start to go gray or white, it really becomes a dilemma on what do I do now? My makeup that I used to wear doesn't look quite right on me. Do I totally have to change? How do I go about doing that? So I actually had fun recently in putting together a video on what can we do when our hair color changes with our makeup, and actually got a white wig, put it on, and had some fun trying different colors based on what I used to wear and then trying some new things. And it really is a fascinating process to go through. So I know for me, and I've heard this from other women, we sometimes really get stuck in a rut with what we wear. And you did another wonderful YouTube video titled 10 Easy Style Hacks to Transform Your Wardrobe, which had some great tips for getting out of that style rut. Can you share some of the style hacks we can use to give our wardrobe a little bit more life rather than remaining stuck in a rut?
So, gosh, where do I start with that? There's so many. I think one of the easiest things that we can do and the most underrated little tweak we can make to our outfits is simply rolling up a sleeve to the elbow point. It does wonders, particularly if you're somebody who likes maybe a little bit of a looser style. You don't want something so fitted around the tummy. When we have fabric that is, closed and just falling down, we can lose all sense of shape. So to bring back some shape, bringing up that sleeve line takes away the amount of fabric, reveals a little bit of the arm, if you're comfortable with doing that. And not only that, but that line usually sits around the waistline. So it hints at where the waistline is without actually having to wear something fitted or tight on the actual waistline. So I love that little one. Another one that I would suggest trying out would be, think about your outfit as thirds rather than 50-50 proportions. Think about your outfit as thirds, going top to bottom. So you might think about having your top portion as 1/3. So that could be your blouse, your shirt. And then the bottom part would be your 2/3, which might be your trousers or your skirt. And once you understand this rule of thirds, when you see images of outfits that are put together online or in magazines, you'll notice the rule of thirds is used everywhere. It's a very flattering proportion for many, many people. And if anybody out there has ever studied art or photography, the rule of thirds is used in all sorts of ways, in design, in architecture. The rule of thirds is a very pleasing proportion to the eye instead of 50-50, which can cut people in half and therefore make them look shorter and tends to cut across the tummy. So think about thirds as well. And one final thing I would suggest for people to try out is try a little bit of a tuck with your shirt that you're wearing. And people get nervous about this because they think, oh gosh, I'm a bit conscious about the tummy area. If that's the case, try a little side tuck into the side of the trousers over this way. And it creates then a diagonal across the tummy area. So it's still giving the length of the leg, but a little bit of coverage over the tummy as well. And this just changes up and makes it a little bit more interesting. So there's some things that people can try.
Because you work with so many people, and including older women. And if you had just two things to suggest that can make the biggest difference in how we look for those of us over 50, what would you choose?
I would absolutely say color. Color is so impactful and it can make the skin immediately brighten up. Getting the right colors, whether it's your makeup or something you're wearing close to your face, can make you look vibrant, alive, healthy, glowing. Wearing the wrong colors can drain the face of color, make everything a little bit off. Really not the most flattering thing when it's not right. Color immediately just elevates everything. The other thing I would say is don't forget your mindset. The mind plays a powerful part in how we feel about ourselves. So we're far more than what we see in the mirror. I'm going to give a little tip here, if I may, about, if you find that when you look in the mirror, your automatic response is a critical one. Okay, so you're looking in the mirror and you think, oh gosh, there's a new line on my face, or there's something, I'm just being critical about yourself. A little tip here from the world of coaching is to never let that thought live as it is. Use the word but to continue that sentence. Because in that way, when you use the word but, you have to continue your sentence, but in direct contrast to what you've just said. So you might look in the mirror and think, oh gosh, there's another line on my face, another wrinkle. But you know what? I'm still here. I've gone through a whole lot in my life and I'm still here and I'm still standing and I'm still, able to do the things I want to do. So you can reframe that and it retrains the mind to take away that negative self-talk and reinforce some positivity. And I think from there, you see yourself in a much more positive light anyway. So the mindset plays a huge part as well.
Oh, I could not agree more. And going back to color for just a moment, for years, I wore mostly brown, which is totally the wrong color for me. And when I started clearing out my closet at some point, getting rid of the browns, the blacks, although black is okay, but as I've gotten older, I realize it's a little too harsh for me most of the time, especially head to toe black. But just walking into my closet, now that I have some colors that really suit me better, that work better with the undertone of my skin, it just makes me happier. It's just an immediate lift just to see those colors. So I think it affects us in so many different ways. And thank you for that wonderful tip of using but. that is a great one, which I've not heard before. I know our viewers would love to hear about some of the courses that you offer because you really offer a number of different ones. Could you share some of those with us?
So my signature course that I would recommend to anybody who feels like they have lots of clothes and nothing to wear and they're just feeling a little bit lost in themselves and their style. My course is called Streamline Your Style and it's a 6-week course. There's a lot of pre-recorded videos there, workbooks, challenges. We have women of all ages in there as well. And I go live once a week with the group and they have access for life. They're always welcome back. I've had people coming back and doing the course 2 or 3 times because there's so much information in it. So it covers things like style, personality, body shape, colors, wardrobe editing, the mindset as well, as we touched on as well. It's a fantastic course and one that I'm very proud of and I've won awards for. So I'm planning on running that again towards the end of the summer. So I would encourage people to look out on my YouTube channel. I always tell people about it there. So that will be running probably towards the end of August into September. My other course that I designed as a follow-on to that is The Secrets of Effortless Style. And that's about understanding how to put a great outfit together. So if you struggle to think, oh, well, do these shoes go with this and this coat? And, so it's more than getting dressed, it's getting styled. So that's an 8-week course and works great as a follow-on to Streamline Your Style. My third course is the Body Shape and Confidence course. And that's actually a module taken out of Streamline Your Style for people who are only interested in that subject. But I would encourage people to do the full spectrum of Streamline Your Style. I think the most value is had through that. So those are my 3 online courses. And of course, I do one-to-one work as well with people.
Just before we close off today, I want to ask if there's anything we have not touched on that you'd like to share before we conclude.
Well, I think if anybody is curious, I would encourage them to book a clarity call on my website, a complimentary 20-minute call to see if it's the right fit for you to work together with me. And you can be anywhere in the world. A lot of my clients are in the US and across the world. So, if you're thinking, oh, that sounds like something I'm interested in, let's have a chat about it. But that's about it. I'm so pleased that I had the opportunity to talk to you, Elise. Your channel is wonderful. You're giving such great advice. It's fantastic. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, you are so welcome, Sara. It's been a pleasure, and I just so enjoy your videos and can't wait to see what you're sewing next. I'm looking forward to seeing that. You can find a link to Sara's channel in the description box below, as well as links to all of her other social media sites, and I encourage you to check those out. Well, I look forward to seeing you all again next Thursday for another video. And until then, I wish you all good health and happiness and hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Take care.